What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Burn Boot Camp podcast. You're listening to Monday Mornings with Morgan, and today I'm going to talk about motherhood and how it truly takes a village. So over the weekend, I actually had the pleasure to host a baby shower for one of my friends who is expecting her first baby boy. And so I'm kind of all up in my feels about just motherhood, and it's May and Mother's Day is approaching us, and so really just had me reflecting over the weekend how important it is to have a village and to make those special connections with people that are either walking in a journey behind you have walked, right, or even walking ahead of a journey that you have walked. So as it relates to motherhood, I've had 3 kids, 7, 5, and almost 3. And so it's important to me to now give what I know down to other moms that are walking kind of behind me in this season of motherhood. So we had our baby shower, and, I asked all of the other women to go around and just give their best piece of advice to the mama-to-be. And I just thought it was really special because, if I look back to when I was pregnant with my 7 years ago, pregnant with Cameron, I was so fortunate to have the Burn Boot Camp community of women and moms behind me and throwing me a baby shower and giving me advice and saying things to me that I actually didn't really understand at the time, but now that I've walked through it, I can understand why they were being so grateful and giving me some of that advice when it comes to just trust your gut and give yourself grace and don't Google anything, and all the things that they were saying. Some of it I still did, obviously, because you got to learn your lessons yourself. But just looking back, I think I was even more grateful for the women around me at the time that were there as my village. And so I just want to encourage you today, 2 things really. Number 1, if you are a mom and you've walked through motherhood and whatever that means for you, whether you just became a new mom or you've got 5 kids in college, or maybe you're a grandma now, just the importance of giving young moms and people that are walking through the journey behind you, giving them that word of encouragement, giving them some advice even. Listen, I know that some people don't love receiving advice, but I think whenever you give it in the right way with good intent, it's always received well, at least from my experience. And so number 1, like I said, if you're a mom that's gone through some season of motherhood and you've got somebody around you, whether it's a coworker or whether it's someone you're working out with at Burn Boot Camp on the floating floor, or it's your best friend, or it's your younger sister or somebody else that's close to you, don't hold back. Be that support system for them. Make sure that you're asking them those questions after they've given birth that you wish somebody would have asked of you. And so maybe you didn't have that village, as you were walking through that journey, but now that you've had that opportunity, I encourage you to be that village for another new mom. And so, Carly is the name of the mom that I got to host. She also works at Burn Boot Camp, but she's grown to be a friend of mine, and I truly cherish her. And her husband both work at Burn. They met here, and now they're married, and now they're having a baby. So it's just such a special journey that they're on. And then now, I get to be a little part of what that looks like. But I've been the one that's telling Carly the good, bad, and the ugly of pregnancy and what childbirth is going to look like. And, the things that nobody told me and that I didn't read in a blog, and I didn't, my doctor didn't prepare me for, having contractions after you give birth, those couple of weeks afterwards when your uterus is shrinking, and it's not very comfortable when you're breastfeeding or whatever you choose to do. But little things like that, right? Where I'm not trying to scare her or put fear into her, but I want her to know hey, here's what you should expect. Here's some things that are normal, and or the baby blues, or feeling certain way about having a baby and going through that journey of seeing your body. And so that's why I've always tried to be very vulnerable on my social media. If you actually scroll way back to all of my pregnancies, I show you guys what I looked like, 1 week postpartum, 2 weeks postpartum, because I'm not that person that just snapped back into jeans and never looked pregnant again. And a lot of people just assume things because social media can be deceiving, and social media can make motherhood look just like a walk in the park. And It's not always that. So let's make sure we're staying connected to these new moms that are walking through different seasons, whether that is giving birth or whether that's going from 1 kid to 2, 2 to 3, or walking them into, the teenage years. There's so many seasons in motherhood that we need to come together as women and make sure we're supporting one another. Today I have a 2-year-old is my youngest. He'll be 3 in June. So next month, actually, he'll be 3. So he's almost 3 years old. But guys, he had such a tough morning. He woke up and it was meltdown after meltdown after meltdown. And on a Monday morning, that can be the last thing you want. When you wake up ready to attack your week and you're like getting the kids ready for school and you've got your littlest one that nothing was going his way, and lots of meltdowns this morning. And it reminded me that like motherhood, once you feel like you got something figured out, like a new phase of life happens. And again, like I say that to encourage you that like, hey, that's completely normal. Like my house is kind of a crazy town sometimes, I guess you could say. And even though that might not look the way that I perceive it to be on social media, like my kids have meltdowns. My daughter has a crazy attitude. She's 7. My son is stubborn, and my middle son and like wants what he wants, and his toys are his toys, and it's all the dynamics. And so let's just encourage each other to speak the truth about what motherhood looks like, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just again, encouraging that person that's gone before you. And then on the flip side of that, if you are becoming a new mom, or you're going from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, or, like I said, all those other phases of life, whether that's college, high school, or, being a grandparent, make sure you're leaning into the people that have done it before you. And, don't feel like you have to figure it all out yourself. Okay, that's what it truly means when you have a village. And some of you, your village may feel a little bit smaller than others, and that's not a bad thing. That's not anything against you. That's just that you have a couple people that you truly trust to give you some of that advice or be vulnerable around. So whether that's one person that's your village or that's 15 other women that's your village, I would encourage you to lean into that. And don't have that sense of pride that you have to figure it all out, or you have to kind of think that you have to have it all together in the public eye, or even to around your friends or social media. There's just power in vulnerability. And so ask those questions. Ask, somebody that's gone before you, like, hey, what should I expect? Like, what's your best advice for me now that you've gone through it? It's just advice. It doesn't mean you have to take it, but it just is so nice to have other people open up and encourage you to go through a season that may be harder than others. So my next piece of advice is like, leave the Google to the side and like ask your friends, ask the people that are really experiencing it in real life. And likely if they're your friend, or there's somebody that you even have the trust factor to talk to, like you likely are going to trust what advice they have back. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, guys, as we approach that Mother's Day and motherhood, and just celebrating moms, building your village, both, whether that's on the receiving end or the giving end. I encourage you to find that village today and make sure that they know how much you love them too, and how much you appreciate that. And this is what it's all about. This is what community is truly about, is like helping one another in good times and in bad. So go out there and find your village today, or if you already have one, say thank you. All right, guys, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.